So Poison Ivy is rumored to be getting a TV show right now. Now, whether it's live action or it's animated, whether it's going to be its own standalone Elseworld story, or if it's going to be part of James Gunn's DCU, we have no real clue. But it does get the creative juices flowing and kind of makes me want to think of if this could actually work. Could a Poison Ivy TV show not only work, but be entertaining, it can captivate? Could it expand the DC universe in a way that people haven't seen in live action or animation just yet, because of Pamela Isley as a character and her connections to some of the wider forces of the DC universe? Let's just get right into things. So initially I think Poison Ivy has the staying power, the clout, the story potential to actually have her own series? I think so. One, the obvious thing is she, like Catwoman and Harley Quinn, has her own ongoing book, though hers right now is in the 60s right now. She is over 60 issues long, and she is in a pretty interesting spot in the DC universe, as she's mayor of Gotham City, and she's currently being part of a headlining event called Bad Seeds that's connecting the Batman titles. So I'm very excited for that to happen. But what makes this era of Poison Ivy interesting is that she is mayor of freaking Gotham City. She's going to be doing things to either make things better or worse, having to deal with bureaucracy and politics in general, juggling stuff that's going on with like Arkham Asylum, or perhaps stuff that's going on with Batman, like what she's been doing with Vandal Savage in Matt Fraction's current Batman run, with how things have been going. And that's not even to say about her general powers and her importance to the DC mythos. Because while many people just believe Pamela Isley, the Poison Ivy, to be another Batman rogue, another Batman villain for him to fight and put into Arkham Asylum because she's crazy, she's not crazy. When Poison Ivy was initially expanded upon, the initial concept was that she was kind of an eco-terrorist, where she was more so caring about the environment or just the planet in general in comparison to human beings. A lot of plans being to either destroy human infrastructure to help the plants, or to just kill off as many humans as possible in preference to there being plants. And people also know her for her abilities to control, manipulate plants with just her mind and everything. And while her initial powers are like that, she can talk to plants, communicate with them, help them grow, use them as weapons, even help grow and create and alter plants depending on the situation or the plants in the surrounding areas, which makes her incredibly formidable, as well as some other abilities. She's also an avatar of the green. Now, for those of you who have only really seen like the live action DC movies and some stuff from the DC animated universe, you might probably be asking, what's the green? Well, the green is one of the natural forces of the DC universe where life spreads from. The green represents vegetation, the planet itself, plant life essentially, and the ones connected to it, the main avatars of it, are Poison Ivy, and especially the first avatar of the green that we truly get to know, Swamp Thing. Yeah, Swamp Thing. Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing have the same source of their natural powers. Natural boost to the powers that they initially have, mainly for Poison Ivy since she gained her powers, but Swamp Thing was chosen as an avatar of the green. But there are other forces that end up representing other parts of life. The red represents all animal life throughout the universe. Avatars of the red have included Animal Man, Vixen, and Beast Boy in some instances. There's also the blue, or some people call it the clear, which is the representation of all aquatic life in oceans throughout the entire universe. And the current one who's connected to it in the current avatar of the blue is Aquaman. And this is more recent. This is a more recent Aquaman power-up, which makes him absolutely freaking broken. Go read DCKO All Fight Month, Aquaman versus Hawkman. You will see how broken Aquaman's power with the blue is. There's also the black, also known as the rot or decay, just the force of death, decomposition, and rebirth in the Marvel Universe. It is the very opposite of the green. There's also the gray, the kingdom that governs fungal and mold life. There's no real avatar for it at this moment. Other forces that have been mentioned but haven't been fully explored yet for the forces of nature are the white, which represents like the atmosphere and wind, the melt, which is just earth and stone, the metal, which is more technological metal elements, and the divided, which is microorganisms and bacteria. But I think based off of what we know about natural forces, this could be part of what the Poison Ivy show could be. Have her initially start off as one of the Batman's rogues, but have it lead into her eventually becoming an avatar of the green and having her encounter these different avatars of the natural forces of the DC universe. Have it be her we're seeing how the world is balanced through all these different parts of organic life, or what makes up organic life, even the black or the gray when it comes to being the opposite of the green, and how things have to eventually die. Have that be some sort of internal struggle when it comes to the force that could kill the green, and have her ideologies challenged by other characters of different forces. Primarily like the red, most likely, with like Animal Man and Beast Boy if that's the case, but mainly Animal Man since he is the animal guy. Throw in Aquaman now that we have him with the blue now, see how that ends up turning out with aquatic life and plant life, how that would turn out, and even just potentially have Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing have different views on how to handle protecting the green and preserving and making the plant life healthier and grow more. There's a lot of things you can potentially do with Poison Ivy as a main character of the show, especially if her being an avatar of the green is a main focal point. But that doesn't have to be the only thing we focus on with Poison Ivy. We can focus obviously on her backstory and her relationship with her parents and how she really got her powers and led her down the path that she has led up until this point. Maybe start her off as more of an extremist, and where it justifies Batman having to take her down and bring her to Arkham Asylum, but over the course of years, she begins to realize that she's going about things in a way that perhaps is not the best and will potentially try and change her ways, still wanting to protect the green, but try and find a way that amount to mass deaths a lot of time. And that could potentially be like a way for the green to choose her to be an avatar. Have a relationship with Harley Quinn be like a main staying point. Have Harley and Poison Ivy start off as really close friends, and then we build into that inevitable romantic relationship that we eventually will get with the two of them on screen. Heck, maybe even have Poison Ivy help out Batman in an episode or two, depending on who is going to do something to Gotham, and Batman wants Poison Ivy's help because she has connection to plants, and he himself does not want plant life to die because even he knows the environment is important. Now, with just the general vibe and idea of what this show could end up being about, heck, it could be an action series, it could be a political drama, or just a character-driven story, with just it being a character drama. Maybe with her plant abilities, you can make it like a slight type of thriller or horror type story, where it would be if it was just Swamp Thing potentially, but do it in a different way, perhaps. Who knows? But the last thing that we have to talk about is whether or not this will be canon to James Gunn's DCU. Because we already do have a villain-esque movie coming out in October, being Clayface, and it is a prequel to basically everything that's happened in the DC universe thus far. And people are very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. It's a body horror movie focused on one of Batman's most interesting rogues characters, and it's psychological horror as well. And that's also why I have confidence that a Poison Ivy show could do well. One, she has not just the comic book history in Batman comics, but she has her own comic book lines, one that's still currently ongoing, and where she's in an interesting spot right now in the comics, where you can draw inspiration from for her stories. She has an interesting connection to one of the natural primary forces of the DC universe that also has different counterparts with different avatars that could cause some sort of conflict of interest, or just literal actual physical conflict between these opposing avatars and how things be dealt. Maybe she fights the Black, the Rot, and that being a major conflict to kind of bring balance to the forces instead of having the Rot overtake the green and wipe out the green and eventually the rest of the forces, for all we know. It could be a nice world building show for all we know, and it could be a nice character study for Poison Ivy as well. A lot of Batman's rogues characters can in fact have their own series or movies to explore who they are. Many of these characters have had their own one-off stories or Elseworld stuff to explore them in different ways. But Poison Ivy is the only one that's had an ongoing series that isn't named Harley Quinn or Catwoman, so I have confidence that this could eventually be a thing. Now, if it's live action, that would be really cool also, and if Batman's there, that we'd have to cast an actual live action Batman, though that would be the same thing for animation. And if it's animated, that would give them more time to work on it, and they can slot it in anywhere they really want in the timeline, and would give them better ideas to casting before they throw them into live action stuff, before costumes are made, or before other things are done with other specific characters, and can potentially use as a way to kind of backdoor introduce characters like, let's say, Swamp Thing or Animal Man before they get their own movies released in the future, for all we know. It's a nice way to go about things. And honestly, if it is canon to James Gunn's DCU. If it's not, it'll be a nice fun one-off show, I guess. But as long as they explore Poison Ivy in an interesting way, explore parts of the DC universe that we haven't had explored in live action yet, like the concepts of all these natural forces of the DC universe and the avatars of the green, the red, the blue, etc. It's interesting concepts that could be explored upon within a TV show, and Poison Ivy feels like a really cool POV character that we could use, especially if she becomes a new avatar of the green shortly after some something happens to Swamp Thing, or perhaps the Green needs more than one avatar at a time. But that's really all my thoughts on what a Poison Ivy TV show could be about, whether it can be canon to the DCU or not, and just what exactly she can be capable of at this point. I need to read a lot more Poison Ivy comics. I gotta be caught up with Poison Ivy before I make any real concrete actual planning out what a season of a Poison Ivy TV show can actually truly be about. But based off what I know about Poison Ivy and what I've read about her so far, this feels like a general direction that we could go for when it comes to the Poison Ivy TV show. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what a Poison Ivy TV show could entail, what kind of story we could see from Poison Ivy. Would we see her origin? Would we see her become an avatar of the Green? Or would we just see her being more of an eco-extremist when it comes to trying to protect the planet in very harsh and, well, extreme ways with her methods and the plants that she uses, which puts her in conflict with other characters like Batman? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Shows you enjoy what I'm making on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.